Hello and welcome to the 5 Ds of Creative Problem Solving. I'm Dr. Luke Horton. The 5 Ds are define, diverge, decide, design, and disseminate. Each one of these stages of the 5D framework explains the way the creative problem solving should actually work. We begin with a definition of the current understanding of the problem. We then move into the divergence, where we look at the alternative explanations to see if we have the correct or the best interpretation. We then evaluate and compare and contrast. And then from that contrasting period, we're able to design the most effective solution for our problem. And then once we know what it is and we believe in it, we can share it with others and see if they agree. Define. Doing the same thing and expecting different results. Now, this means sometimes when we define a problem, what we're actually doing is trying to do the same thing over and over again. We get stuck in routines. So this stage is all about understanding those routines and challenging them. Creative problem solving is really about coming up with new and novel solutions to problems that perhaps we haven't thought about before. So if we go with the existing definition, that's not creative. The very definition of the word creative means something new and novel, something interesting, something that's going to take us into a new direction. If we keep doing the same thing and expect different results, that's not creative. So the first thing we must do in creative problem solving is to define what the problem is. We must look at it and go, aha, that's what it is at the moment. Now, you might be thinking, I've heard this before, but wait. The second stage is to diverge. We spend 95% of our time defining the problem and 5% solving it. So now once we have a definition, the next step, the next logical step is to challenge that. We challenge that and we say, this isn't right, this isn't correct. This is not the way that the problem should be solved. And what we do then is we begin to look at alternative explanations or different ways of expressing the problem. These are entirely different, not the same way of expressing it, not a different way of expressing it entirely, necessarily, but something that is a completely different view of what the problem currently is. Now remember, if back here we've got a definition that's not working, then here we need to find out why. And the only way to do that is to challenge current thinking about what the problem is. Thirdly, once we've done that, there's this thing that happens where we have to decide, where we have to make a choice, the nature of workplace pragmatism and the rest of it, and any decision we're likely to make will be wrong anyway. What does that mean? Well, it means that when we decide, we compare the expression or the alternative views of the problem with the current definition and we make a choice. In comparing, what happens is natural solutions emerge and the creative process of what I call synthesis begins to happen. So when you take one set of ideas and compare them with another, what you're left with is a connection. That connection is higher order thinking that enables you to see the problem more clearly. Or in plain English, when you put a bunch of ideas together, the best ones naturally float to the top. Now why is that? Well, the process of creativity is really a search process. You're looking for answers. You're seeking knowledge, new ideas. And by seeking new ideas, what you are doing is creating the template for that to happen. Like anything else in life, when you're looking for it, it tends to be there. With creative ideas and novel solutions, if you're looking for a decision, you can't slip out this weird-looking picture here, this divergence. See, that picture's not what you expected. And you have to look at the current definition. So the third part of the process is to decide, what are we going to do? Once we've compared and freewheeled all of the options, like I said in the first video, you will definitely then be able to look at this from that positive point of view. You will definitely be able to say, look, we can decide, we can make a choice, let's go with this. And remember, you're more than likely going to be wrong. So, with that in mind, make the decision anyway. Now that seems contradictory, but if we enable ourselves to make these decisions, and we say, yes, we're going to decide no matter what, then we'll make those decisions. Now you might be right. On the off chance that you are right, then you've got a good creative solution there. Now once we know what the solution is, we design the framework for it to sit in. This is an entirely different discipline, but I would like to point out that the planner has no right to be wrong. So by this stage, it's too late. We've all agreed on what to do. You are simply creating the pipes, putting the foundation down, and giving the solution legs. Or in plain English, you are now doing the solution. You are now making it work. So once you have a design of the solution, the next logical step is to get buy-in. And we have a whole other session on that coming up shortly. You may have great ideas, but who has seen them? They are only great if they work. So then we go back to the beginning again, and we go, we define the problem in its current setting. We diverge by looking at the different explanations of the problem, and we try and settle on which one we think is the best. Then from that, we decide what to do. We create a design of that solution, and then we disseminate and share it with others. Now, obviously, I've left up the step of action. That goes without saying. Once it's disseminated, it starts to work. People start to take it on board.